as I was walking up here, my good friend and mentor, Brian, reminded me to single out Nancy and Joanne for gratitude for all they've done to help organize this. I'll get a chance to do that again, but I want to thank my entire committee. Brian said he put this committee together, and we've been meeting weekly since mid-June, and work and camaraderie and unity that's emerged on this committee is fantastic. And one of the things that we learned in AA is that our leaders are only trusted servants. They don't govern, and that what governs us is a group conscience, an informed group conscience that is the voice of that power and spiritual power that guides our program. So what we want to do in this inventory process is form a group conscience, but we want to form a group conscience for the entire area, all of Area 50. And that means everyone here on Zoom is a leader in this process. And we're going to start out by education, and this education process is going to continue throughout the year. But we want everyone here to carry the message of this inventory process to all of Area 50, because we want a group conscience that includes the voice of every member of Area 50. And we're beginning that process today, and we're hopeful that we can start giving you all some background in how this is going to work. And we hope that you will carry that message to your home group, back to your friends, back to everybody. And for that, we are responsible. One of the things that many people think is that the AA program is 12 steps. But if you're here, you probably understand that the AA program is a program that was developed over a period of over 20 years and symbolized by our circle and triangle. And in the circle and triangle has 3 legs. And each leg of the triangle is equally important. And the whole AA program, enclosed in that circle, is the AA program. And that it has a foundation of recovery, our 12 steps, but equally important is the unity. And that's what we are feeling as this process, as our committee has worked together every week. June, the unity of our committee has grown. And what we hope will happen today is that all of you will feel the unity at the area level, at this assembly, and we will build that unity over the rest of the year so that we can practice the 3rd legacy, the legacy of service. And the goal here is to get all of Area 50 practicing step 12, which tells us to carry the message and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Carry that message. We are responsible. We want the hand of AA always to be there. And for that, we are responsible. So this process is a little bit complicated, and we're going to go over it today, but there's plenty of help. Don't try to, you don't have to try to take it all in today, but just take this as sort of a first bath in the inventory process, and we'll get really sweet. So by way of background, we're going to have this presentation on the history of what's happened in Area 50, because what Denise's motion called for, she suggested that we should have this inventory guided by a facilitator from out of Area 50. Her name is Nikki O. She's a past delegate from the state of Maine, Area 28, and she's from her. She's working with another Area today, doing what she's doing with us today, but she's creating a video presentation to give you her vision for what she wants to see. And she's been working since mid-June. She's been to every one of our committee meetings. And here's what she says about Area 50. Of all of the areas that she knows in the Northeast, no area had like the planning that Area 50 has embodied in the Turning the Lights On strategic plan that we're going to talk about a little bit today, which is a direct outgrowth of the last time we took an inventory in 2015. He understood that there was a lot of work to do. And as a result of that, we put together a strategic plan, the Turning the Lights On program. Chuck B, who has led that effort, is going to presentation on that history. But all of that led up to a story that I want to share, which is first assembled in panel 7 when the Turning the Lights On program got 5 years. This is the direct result of the last time we did an inventory. What happened at that assembly is we had a speaker from New York. Her name is Julia D. Her family's from Buffalo, and she edited the latest publication from the General Service Office, Our Great Responsibility, Bill W.'s talks to the General Service Conference from the 1950s into 1971, a marvelous book. She came here to Buffalo and she came to that assembly. There were between 130 and 150 people at that assembly. There was a unity, there was a buzz, there was a commitment, there was a focus. And she turned to me with bug eyes and she said, "You people in Area 50 are saving lives. That's why we're here. That's why we want to take our inventory. How are we doing in saving lives in Area 50? How are we doing in carrying the message? What can we do better?" So we're going to take our inventory, and that's going to be the basis for the next version of vision for Area 50. I want to go briefly over how this process is going to work. Justin, would you share the inventory process summary, please? In the handouts, both digitally and here in the room, and if you're here in the room, take a bunch of these summaries with you and the back. You should tell people about this because this tells you what's going to happen for the next few months. So what we talk about here is that today we're going to have, after I shut up, we're going to have a presentation, the video presentation from Nikki to give her vision of what this is going to look like. Chuck B will give us the history. And what you're going to see is Chuck is going to talk about the 6 points of the Turning the Lights On strategic plan. He's going to go over in summary fashion what those 6 points are. And that is also on our website. And plenty of detail and more information is there. What we're going to do then, this will just give you a little taste of what the vision has been that's been guided. And then we're going to break into roundtables that Joanne and Nancy have organized. And we're going to begin to talk about each of those 6 points and whatever else we think is important for the future of AA growth in Western New York. We'll collect that information. There'll be a facilitator at each roundtable. We'll collect that information. There'll be a scribe. Somebody will volunteer to be a scribe or be voluntold to be the scribe. The scribes will all report after we have about a 45-minute set of roundtables, both online and in person. And that information will all go to Nikki because she wants to know when she formulates the inventory question, what are we talking about? And there's going to be an opportunity to give further comments. So when you go out and carry this message, we're going to keep this part of the process open. What do we want to focus on until October 1st? There's an email address send in your comments to, and we really want to ask you all to encourage people's presentation and get your comments in that email address by October 1st. More details to follow on that. Nikki will put out the questions on October 8th, and then follow to do the same thing throughout Area 50. We want the home groups, we want the people in positions of service to be thinking about these questions and to submit your comments so that we can have an informed group conscience that we will develop at the November 12th Service Assembly. And again, there will be an opportunity to file email comments. So I want to do one more thing. Or Justin, would you just pull up the webpage that on the Area 50 website is now a special inventory resource page, and it is full of information can use to become more details of this history and turning the lights on plan. And you can see Justin. Maybe you can go to the top, Justin, if you would. Thanks. So let's just start. You'll see that this is the vision, and then important dates are under that, and got today's date, and then the November 12th date, and then under that we have the first thing that we're making available to help: office hours. Nancy, office hours. You can sign in on these office hours with any questions or information that you want to get. I've lost. And there's also an email address to be putting these comments in. And then we have this research links, which are background documents. This summary of the inventory process is on here. They're all of the Turning the Lights On program strategic plans. And then finally, we recorded the presentations that we made to the area committee. The second, we're recording these presentations. They will be posted so you can hear all of this information again. So just get an overview today, but there's going to be plenty to look at. And we're going to ask you to carry this message and get input from the area as a whole. So I'm gonna stop now. We will be doing outreach to you from the committee for more ways to carry the message and get input. And the more people we get involved, the better this is going to work. But now we're going to have two presentations. The first is going to be from Nikki, who recorded this video to tell us about her vision. Then Chuck will give us a history report. And then Joanne will guide us into how those breakout rooms are going to be. So thanks very much, everybody. Thanks once again to the committee. I know what the last inventory in 2015 did to build general service. And I know we have so many more people involved now. If everybody does what the responsibility statement does, if we all take personal responsibility as concept one of the concept says that ultimate authority and ultimate responsibility for the future of AA lies with each and every person in this room and on Zoom. It's our responsibility to make this work. It's how we practice the program. Let's do it. Thank you very much. Thanks. Nikki,
Hi everybody, my name's Nikki. I'm an alcoholic. I'll be facilitating your November 12 inventory. I'm sorry I can't be there with you today, but I had some plans that were already in place. I'm a Panel 70 delegate from Area 28, which is Maine. I served on the Grapevine and Lavinia Committee. I'm incredibly grateful to be part of the Northeast region. That's made up of 18 areas within 12 states: Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, DC, and Vermont. I currently serve as the Northeast Regional Delegate Secretary and Treasurer. So I'm the nerd secretary-treasurer. I never thought I'd want to be a nerd. I avoided it in high school, but here I am, happy to be a nerd. And so what it means to be the nerd secretary-treasurer is I act as the conduit of information between the nerds past, present, and the alternate delegates. I send out flyers with regional AA information. I sit on a few regional ad hoc committees. I request the annual dues from the nerds, participate in the nerd reunion planning, and unfortunately, I send out the information when one of our nerds passes away. This position acts as the conduit of information throughout the Northeast regional delegates. Much like Denise, your current delegate, acts as the conduit from Area 50 to the General Service Conference, which happens in April each year. So here it is, September 10th, and there's much work to be done for preparing for an area inventory. According to Bill W. on page 64 of our big book, a business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact-finding and fact-basing process. It is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. One objective is to disclose damaged or unsaleable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the owner of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. In this case, the area is the business needing an inventory, and without a true exploration of what is working and what is not much will change. As I mentioned, I have a broad knowledge of the areas within our region, and I can tell you no other area has a strategic plan like the one your area has to reference for growth and proof of tangible evidence of it. The strategic plan, called Turning the Lights On, really looks for how the Area 50 General Service Assembly is doing. Much like our own personal inventories, we must ask ourselves some questions to determine what needs to be done to improve or maintain our recovery process if we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness, which happens to be one of the 9th step promises. The area needs you to get involved so it can improve and maintain its General Service Assembly. All our AA literature can be adapted to personal, group, district, area, and AA as a whole's recovery process. In the book AA Comes of Age, and our service manual, Bernard B. Smith, non-alcoholic, then chairperson of the Board of Trustees and one of the architects of the General Service Conference structure, says, "We may not need a General Service Conference to assure our own recovery. We do need it to ensure the recovery of the alcoholic who still stumbles in the darkness one short block from this room. We need it to ensure the recovery of a child being born tonight, destined for alcoholism. We need it to provide, in keeping with our 12th step, a permanent haven for all alcoholics who in the ages ahead can find in AA that rebirth that brought us back to life. We need it because we, more than all others, are conscious of the devastating effect of the human urge for power and prestige, which we must ensure can never invade AA. We need it to ensure AA against government while insulating it against anarchy. We need it so that Alcoholics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous alone is the ultimate repository of its 12 steps, its 12 traditions, and all of its services. We need it to ensure that changes within AA come only as a response to the needs and the wants of all AA and not of any few. We need it to ensure that the doors of the halls of AA never have locks on them, so that all people, for all time, who have an alcoholic problem may enter these halls unasked and feel welcome. We need it to ensure that Alcoholics Anonymous never asks of anyone who needs us what his or her race is, what his or her creed is, what his or her social position is. Believe it or not, the same is true for why we need area committees and area assemblies and an inventory of the area and how it's doing. The Turning the Lights On initiative is a great way for navigating and some clarity about what Area 50 can do better and what they're doing really well at. I've really appreciated getting to know your area through the eyes of the inventory committee. Hank, Joanne, Nancy, Patrick, Sandy, and Pete have worked really hard to make this an easy process and one that should get some true interest in the well-being of your area. Leading up to the November 12th inventory, which will be in conjunction with some of your other Area 50 business, you will have some opportunities to learn more about the 6 points of the Turning the Lights On strategic plan. Between office hours, breakout groups, and access to the website where you can get a plethora of information, you'll be armed with much information and the ability to get the word out to your groups and individual members. We want everyone there. We want to know what you all think. Once you've formulated your questions and thoughts, you'll be able to email them directly to me at a50ttlloinventory@gmail.com. So that's A50 Turning the Lights On inventory. So I'm sure that will be posted. The deadline to email questions or comments is October 1st. Then I'm going to create the inventory questions based on your insights and send the final inventory questions to your area chair, Ryan, and the inventory committee by October the 8th. They will get them out to you in your groups. This allows time for your trusted servants to get the information to you for maximum time to prepare yourselves and your groups for the inventory on November 12th. So please send me some really good nuggets. I need information so that we can make this informative and interesting, and most importantly, an opportunity for area growth. Having the questions in advance to the inventory gives everyone a chance for preparing, even those procrastinators like me, right? So my vision for November 12th is to open up by sharing the 6 strategic points, which you will have in your packet that was either sent out to you or you'll be able to find it on the website. So having the 6 points: 1, clarity of the roles of the area committee, the general service assembly, the groups and membership carrying out the mission. 2, increase outreach to and encourage participation by the membership and home groups in all aspects of general service, including the general service committee itself. 3, enhance the functioning and visibility of the area service committees. 4, increase cooperation and coordination with the intergroups in Area 50, particularly in service activities. 5, to reimagine the structure and function of the General Service Assembly meetings. And 6, to revive and revise the district structure. And that sounds overwhelming and like a lot. And I've been around a couple of days, and to me it sounds like a lot, which is why it's super important for you to participate in anything that the inventory committee is offering for information, whether it be, like I said, the office hours that I believe will be on Zoom, or anytime. Reach out to the committee. They'll be able to help and clarify, and I bet if you ask, they'll come to your group. So after we go through those 6 points, we'll break up into roundtables to discuss one of the randomly assigned questions. So each roundtable will have one question. And you'll have a scribe that you determine. And at the end of about 45 minutes or so, your roundtable will report back what they discovered and how to best answer the question and how we can make sure that Area 50 is doing what they want to do for the incoming alcoholic. So once we have all the information from the November 12th Assembly inventory, I will provide a report of the findings to the inventory committee and your area chair, Ryan. So you have something tangible to work from as you progress in your endeavors to make sure Area 50 is fulfilling its strategic plan of turning the lights on and making sure AA in Area 50 is there for the newcomers. So in closing, one of the things that I love to encourage areas to do is to participate in inventories on a regular basis, maybe with every panel, maybe every 5 years, however you work it out. It seems to me that it's always easier to take off little chunks than to try to do a big amount of time. So that's from me, not from AA, not from anybody else. But in closing, I really do appreciate the opportunity to share with you and help you to get through this process. And hopefully we both get to learn something. And I look forward to seeing you on November 12th. Thanks.
And Nikki's great. We served together at the General Service Conference, and I know her dedication to AA, and I know you people are going to get a lot of benefit out of getting to know her better. Reach out to her at any time at that email address. Chuck's next going to give us a presentation on that history and the Turning the Lights On program and where we stand. But I just want to stress one point that we really haven't touched on yet, which is throughout this process, we're using the Turning the Lights On process as a foundation for the inventory, but we don't want to limit it to what the Turning the Lights On program says. We want everybody's input, whatever you think is important for us to consider. Denise, in her motion, made it clear this is a new vision we're developing, and Turning the Lights On is a starting point, but it's not where we're going to end up. So whatever your thoughts are, whatever your contributions, please offer them. I'm sure Chuck's online. He's down at a wedding, but he's going to any links and joining us remotely to give us a presentation on the history since the 2015 inventory. So Justin, you could probably pin him. Huh? Thanks. Welcome, Chuck.
Thanks, Hank. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My name's Chuck. I'm an alcoholic. This morning, I asked God what he wanted me to do. And he said to tell people that he loves us and he cares about us. And if we ask him for help, he'll help us. And really, that's, the power in Alcoholics Anonymous is what guides us through this process. There's a lot of people who have been involved in this. The ad hoc committee, I know, has spent a tremendous amount of time developing, getting us to this point, and we'll spend a lot more to get us to the finish line at the November Assembly. But I've been asked to just briefly give you a background of what happened back in 2015 and when we did the last inventory and where we're at now. Back in 2015, I want to go back a little bit further and tell you that there's been a rich history of alcoholic participation in general service since the AA was founded in Buffalo in the 1940s and with the General Service Conference in 1950. But it was a great deal of our work was done through the area intergroup, the Buffalo intergroup, and later the Niagara intergroup, and the NIPEN intergroup, and the Genesee Wyoming intergroup. And they did a great deal of the work in carrying the message to the sick and suffering alcoholics in Area 50. But AA itself had developed a general service structure, and that's what we're at today. That general service structure envisions the alcoholics as the most important people, and then they speak to New York through their groups. Their groups elect GSRs. The GSRs elect attend district committee meetings. They elect a DCM, and then general service assemblies are held and area committee meetings. And the purpose of all this is to make sure that people out there who don't know about AA can learn about AA. A survey in 2018 conducted by Alcoholics Anonymous showed us that most of the people in the United States and Canada don't even know that Alcoholics Anonymous exists. They think that there's less than 10% of the people know. And those who know of it, most of them think it's either a religion or a cult. So there's a lot of work for us to do. Back in 2015, we began an initiative to try to begin to develop the service structure as envisioned by Bill Wilson and Bernard Smith and the AA World Services in 1962 to develop that in a stronger way in Western New York, so that we weren't competing with the intergroups, and the intergroups weren't competing with us. We weren't fighting territorially, and that's really what the inventory in 2015 revealed to us. That there were a lot of conflicts. There was work to do and how to smooth the road ahead. Justin, can you give me the screen share opportunity here? There's a few things I want to put up. Great, thank you. So this was the, let me see if I can find a couple other things on here. What we came up with was a PowerPoint presentation, but the original concept of it, when we did the inventory, we found out that Area 50 was considered and in those days they called it a dark area, and they called it that because not a lot of groups were participating in general service, and very few groups, percentage-wise, were really contributing to AA World Services or to the area. And at that time, only one district, District 11, was functioning, and that's not true. District 11, District 19 were both functioning, but they didn't have DCMs. They weren't electing a DCM to attend the area assemblies. So what we saw was that we wanted Area 50 to become a fully functioning district, and in that vision, that necessitated the development of the districts, education to the GSRs, and ultimately to the home groups, and development of an area committee. Because there were no DCMs, we really didn't have area committees. Area committee meetings. Everything was just done through the assembly, and the assembly met 11 times a year. So the goal and the function of the result of the inventory was that we want to find a way to I'm having a problem here, Justin, with this. I can't move this PowerPoint. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I can't get that PowerPoint. Could you try giving it back to me again? Okay, yeah, good. Okay, so we developed this program, and it was called "Let's Turn the Lights On," because again, in those days, it was thought of as a dark area. That's now considered. They changed that, and the wording now is it's referred to as you have either a participating or non-participating area. And by the way, a lot of areas in the United States and Canada are not participating. So we weren't alone, but we wanted to change that in Area 50, and so that's what we've worked at. So the program that we came up with was called "Let's Turn the Lights On," and in order to do that, we came up with 6 goals. The first goal was, and Nikki mentioned this, was to improve communications with the groups and members. And if you were assigned to group number 1 in your breakout room, you'll talk about this particular goal. That's one of the things you'll talk about is how well are we doing on this? The purpose of an inventory, as Bill says, is to see, what's on the shelf. So we want to look at what's happened from 2015 until today, and have we improved those communications, and what can we do better? The second goal was understanding the role of each AA constituency in general service, and that's the member, the group, the district, the area committee, the assembly, and how well are we doing with that in Area 50? Are they functioning? Are they functioning well? What can we do better? So if you're in group number 2, that's what you're going to talk about. If you're in group number 3, the goal will be improving the work and visibility of the service committees. And ask yourself, what do you know about the service committees here in Western New York? How well are they doing? What can we do better to help them carry the message? The service committees, the purpose is to reach outside of AA and let the world know that we're here. So it's an important role, and how well are we doing that? Goal number 4 is to increase the cooperation and coordination with the intergroups. And one of the things that we started back in 2016 were meetings with regular meetings between the 4 intergroup chairs in the area. And that was very effective. It broke down a lot of the fears and concerns and all the territorial stuff that the intergroups were concerned with, the area was afraid of. All of that was broken down. So reviving that, I think, is an important thing to consider going forward. But we should be working together with the intergroups. The service guidelines put out by AA World Services are really helpful. They explain what the intergroups can do, what we can do, and how we can work together. So the other one is a complete build out of the district structure. We've come a long ways. I mean, we had, with no DCMs in 2016, we've come a long way since then. And we have a lot of active districts. And that was really where the work began. I'll come back to that in a second. And then the last group will be reimagine the structure and function of the assemblies. So think about, if you're in that group, that's one of the 3 things that you'll be thinking about. But this complete build out of the district structure, and that really was the history of it. I was elected chair of the General Service Assembly to start my term on January 1st, 2016. And this was the division that we were looking towards. And the first real effective step came in June of 2016. It took almost 18 months, but at that time, a couple of things occurred. I met with Ludd and Joe Coyne, and we began discussing what to do with District 11, how to build out District 4. And at the same time, Hank was meeting with Brian, and they started working on District 16. And a couple of months or so later, Hank met with Matt and James Oliver and got District 7 started. And after that, Patty Stevens, a former alternate chair of Area 50, along with a couple of other women from Area 50, went out and they went to each of the districts, and they did a tremendous amount of work, a lot of legwork. And there was a committee that Patty put together with Brian, and Sue was on it, and Sandy was on it, and a couple of other people. And they really did a lot of the legwork to introduce districts. And through that, we got District 1 going. District 3 really started to take off at that time. And District 20, through the help of Sean and Colette, got going. District 15 started becoming effective. District 8. So we had a lot of districts that were up and running. And that all happened within a shorter period of time. It took less than a year. So if energy is focused on that, I think that that can happen again. But things are moving along well, and then COVID hit, and COVID put the brakes on a lot of this. So I think the focus and purpose of this inventory will be to okay, let's look, where are we? What's happened? How well did we do with these 6 points? But more importantly, this was a 2015 vision. I think it's important for the area to develop its own new vision. It's time to keep the lights on, but we don't need that as our theme anymore. I think a new theme, a new goal, some new goals. And what can we do to grow and to encourage groups to actively, willingly participate through their GSRs and general service, and help us reach out to the tens of thousands of people suffering from alcoholism in Western New York who don't even know that we're here. I think we're off to a great start. I think what the committee has done has been a yeoman's work, and I'm confident that it will be a very successful endeavor, and we'll come out of that November assembly with a clear vision and direction for the next few years. Thanks.
Ready for the breakout groups, and just a reminder that you've gotten a lot of stuff thrown at you here this morning, and we're just getting started. These are preliminary discussions we're going to have now, and what we want you to do is just begin in these breakout groups to start thinking about these issues, and that will help everyone participating to carry the message out into the area, so that for the rest of September we can dig more deeply into these issues, come up with suggestions to Nikki by October 1st, so that she can start formulating actions that we want to focus in on. Reach out to the committee for help. There'll be more emails, more information out on how we're going to support your efforts. But remember, we're just getting started here. Don't expect to understand everything, but please carry this message. I'm going to